what's up everybody? 9:12 on the clock. What's going on? Jared and Chow and Miguel and Easy E and Bombaclat. What's happening? Just getting set up over here. Got an awesome waxing gibbous. I think it's at 77. Pull up this label right here. Yeah, 77.8. I want to do some situational, see where we're at. We got Saturn and Jupiter. Saturn's a few degrees to the right of the moon, and Jupiter is a bit further, more southwest. We'll check both of them out, and then we'll zoom in. I'll do some scribbling tonight. I figured out how to sketch to the top of the screen, so that's awesome. Let's see who else joins. It's going to be a fun show. Looks like it's going to get even clearer than it is, so that's always a nice thing. What up 24/7? Lunatics, what's happening? Bumbleclat Gatorfish says, I was just filming the sunset and gazing at the moon myself. That's awesome. I do hope everybody who's watching also gets an in real life view. So make sure you keep it outside. It's nice to see the moon coming up with both Saturn and Jupiter. It's always good to observe these markings of our planetary configs. What's happening? The plain truth. What's happening? Mona Lisa. A couple of birdies flying by. Of course, the prominent features: Mare Crisium, Sea of Tranquility, Sea of Serenity, Sea of Fecundity, Mare Nectaris to the left, Langrenus, and then towards the Terminator we got Mare Imbrium finally coming into view. Copernicus is going to be a first tonight. We haven't seen that. It just get off the Terminator, I mean. And Oceanus Procellarum to the bottom, yielding first shot of Tycho and Clavius. So a lot of new features on this phase. High five, Chow. I know, totally right. It says, talking about CMYK and how K is black, but it's used to avoid confusion with RGB, which does make sense. I was also thinking I was going to read a little bit about electrical scars on the moon, the Ponce article from Ralph Jurgens. I've done it before, but it's probably worth a reread now that just got a few more a few more ideas now about the hexagonal features and the kind of like electrical scarring nature of this geometry, and how you need moisture, and how potentially Mars and the moon were interacting. So I'm pretty excited to talk about it. What's going on, True Man Zoo? Moon just coming up. No, it's been up for a while, but it's just just getting dark over here actually. About 30 minutes ago, sunset, and the moon's almost due south. What's happening, Howard? Big love, Space Fam. I agree with that sentiment. So let's do a quick check-in on Saturn and Jupiter, and I'll be right back. Yo, Ellie, how are you? Evening. Hope you're feeling good. Hearts. True Manzu says, it's as if we all observe the same image all night, sans any real-world perspective, all observing the same projection. So I would say though, and I haven't had that experience yet, but I've definitely seen some astro images from the southern hemisphere, and it's really interesting. There are all these different structures that they see, so I feel like in the northern hemisphere here, we do get this consistent image across the board, but I feel like the southern hemisphere has a completely different sky, and yeah, I feel like I'm not sure if consistency applies everywhere. So just a quick run through, had Saturn up, here's Jupiter, Nibiru, really interesting moon configuration. I'm just pulling up Stellarium here to double check on what it is. What do you think all the way to the left? Callisto. And then the three, that's left to right is Io, Ganymede, Europa. No great red storm tonight, or not yet at least. Hey, what's up, Starlight Spectrum? I'll still be here in 40 minutes, that's for sure, unless it rains, but I think it's gonna get clear actually. There's a bit of haze for sure. I'm feeling good, a little bit tired, but I was on the stream for a while today with, not the stream, but the Electric View. I was hanging out with the gents from like, I don't know, like 12:30, 12:45 till about 5 o'clock with these headphones and just chatting it up, listening to a lot of amazing things. Andrew Hall came by from the Thunderbolts project, and he was talking about weather patterns and how they create mountains. It's really fascinating stuff. It was a packed house. Next Sunday, definitely tune in the Electric View. They're probably going to have some guests on. I'll be hanging out with them, voicing my opinions and just, you know, making my mark. What's going on, Michigan Woodland Warrior? So seriously, how many moons does Jupiter have? I always ask that. It's like 70 something. I wish we could see them, but we can't. Let's see, there are 53 named moons and 26 awaiting official names. So that's 79. And I think they're finding more. But it's definitely fascinating. You see the pictures of a lot of them, but some I've never really seen. They're basically specks. Here, I'll drop the link to the Electric View channel. Give me 1 second. Super fun to be on with all those guys. Oh, I guess Neil might still be uploading it, but either way, I'm going to send you to the channel, and once he posts it live, or posts it again, you can check it. But every Sunday, I think, is when they go live. So here's the link to Electric View. Evening Duplicate, nice to see you. Alright, so we had a little quick peek at Jupes and Saturn. Let's get back to the moon. I think like there's some clouds for another 30 minutes or so, but it'll get better. Yeah, definitely True Man Zoo. I'll zoom in on Jupiter. Hey, hey, what's going on, Mary? Nice to see you. Michigan Woodland Warrior saying, so there may be billions of suns, multi-billions of planets, and trillions of moons in any given galaxy. So it seems like that is the case. It's kind of a weird thing to have moved on from ufology, but to still realize that there are tons of opportunities for life to exist in the solar system, and we don't really know for sure. So I've kind of moved on from, the aliens in the typical conspiracy sense, but I feel like the technology is human capable, all the anti-gravitic and stuff like that. And I feel like, yes, there are so many opportunities for life to exist in some form in different parts of the galaxy, solar system, universe. And further, we were talking today on the Electric View about how it's something that I believe in and I feel like is true, is that electric charge and being in a different part of the universe dictates physical attributes. So gravity, density, shapes, even though they use the same sort of paradigms and symmetry and branching, fractals can rearrange in a lot of different ways. So potentially there's a lot of different type of life out there. However, I don't know if we'll get like a really sincere answer from the powers that be. What's going on, Astronomy Livestream? David, good to see you. So there's a little bit of haze, but it's patchy. So you can see it's getting nicer. Yo, what's going on, Matthew Arndt? Says, I was a lot more into your channel until I saw the SJW talk the other night. Well, sorry that didn't appeal to you. CBS. How are you? Well, I'm looking for some stuff I haven't played. Older stuff. I haven't played this one in a while. Yo, what's going on? Bom dia. Let's see what's going on. So, yeah, let's do some moon zoomage. I'm going to get in a bit closer. That's funny. Matthew is saying, the universe being electric doesn't make all opinions allowable. Well, I don't even know what you're getting at, but I think you may have either misinterpreted or you have your own opinion about it. But I think that you really have to take into account this whole experience. And if you just decide to rule out people's opinions by one or two things that they say, or whatever you think their political leanings are, I don't think is a really good way to have a science dialogue. So, but feel free to disagree with me. Man, it got hot all of a sudden, but it's definitely getting clearer. No cheese on the moon, not just yet, at least. Definitely a lot of iron and titanium. And probably a few different types of minerals that were also created in the Sapphire Lab. So I feel like there's a recursive type of elemental structure to these rocks in space. And if you kind of look at the makeup of these rocks against stuff found in the laboratory with plasma experiments, you'll see that a lot of correlations overlap. But yeah, I'm gonna go get my fan working. And I'm gonna switch up the lens, we'll get a bit closer. Past that. Yeah, I'm happy to talk about it. It's kind of vague what you're referencing. Social justice warriors, even those kind of terms like snowflakes and social whatever, SJWs, that's pretty vague for me. Howard Ewing says, do I think it's hollow or holographic? Both of those need further kind of unpacking, but hollow would, the electric universe postulates that pretty much planetoids, asteroids, comets, moons, stars, and objects do grow, and if they look like atomic structures, then possibly they are hollow. Holographic, on the other hand, what I mentioned the other night is that I feel like that's something that's misinterpreted as a projection is not a hologram. A hologram is a piece of holographic film where you shoot a laser through it and it projects a 3D image of something. But the idea of holography is that you can cut that film infinitely or whatever down to smaller and smaller sizes and it'll retain an image of the whole. So that's what holism or holography really actually implies. So in that sense, the universe is very likely holographic. But in terms of it being a 3D projection like Star Wars, I don't think so. So, let's see. How much iron is in the blood, right? 20%? I don't know, but I think it's really, I mean, that's where I think we get the color of our blood, and that's where we get magnetism in our systems, is from the blood. Am I sure am I running 4K? I certainly am. Are you running 4K? I think so, yeah. I mean, should be. Let me see, Matthew, did you respond to me? He says, my argument is that there is a real right and wrong, so not everything is admissible. But who are, like I would say, who is the judge, right? For you, if you're the judge of what you determine right and wrong, then sure, there's a real right and wrong. But to go around saying, like, you people need to abide by my right and wrong, go and find another group of people that force you to do it, and then you'll see why you doing it makes no sense. Why would I go around telling people, like, my right and wrong should also be your right and wrong? That's where I move away from that, mostly because it's a waste of time, and you push people away and you get them pissed at you. If you think differently, that's your opinion. But like for me, I think entertaining everybody's ideas allows me to retain my thoughts, my right and wrong, but I also am friendly to other people, other ideas, without immediately saying, well, this person said something that immediately disagrees with my principles, therefore everything they say after that is basically irrelevant. That's mostly what my point was. Does that mean I don't meet people who say absolutely idiotic, irrelevant things? A lot of people do that, but I choose to either engage them or ignore them, and you can do the same thing. So if you think that, like this channel or whatever, my opinion of letting everybody have their own opinion is not a good idea, so that sucks, but I don't mind it. It doesn't bother me. It actually makes this channel more fun. Most channels on YouTube basically are like ready to jump on anybody who says something somewhat silly or somewhat novice or somewhat out of the realm. You flathard, or you globehead, or you dumbass, it's been done, or any number, it's a cancer on this thread. I'm so sick of that. That's more idiotic and offensive than people with different opinions to me. So Matthew Arndt keeps going, says, social justice warrior says to me, moral social relativism. Also, what does that mean? Of course things are relative to each and every person. So I'm just taking this conversation a little bit further because it's something that no one really ever wants to talk about. No one is really confident enough to say they are sensitive, it seems. Mary is saying, how would society survive if murder is relative? Well, because the system that we exist in now pretends that somehow mankind is supposed to live forever, and that people can somehow you can avoid pain and death in this lifetime, which you can't. So when you accept that death is just as relevant as anything, if not more so, then you become close to death, and you realize that it's not so scary, it's really natural, and the system that we live in is actually pretty perfect. It doesn't need mankind to fix it. And we can't get rid of murders. It's like saying you're going to stop snakes from eating or animals from eating, I think the system is here for us to use it, to live it, to experience it, and to pass on the information to the larger algorithm, the universe. So experientially, murder, opinions, all of this is an experience. It's not about going around telling people what's right or wrong. It's about enjoying the experience that you live in. What's going on, Tom? How are you? Sorry, I'm just going off on a rant. I know some people are joining. The moon's actually staying a bit hazy, so just chilling here. Yo, what's happening on Len Lennox? Says, do I believe NASA put men there half a dozen times 50 years ago? So I've been on the fence about it a lot. I always leave room for the fact that that could be a staged event, but it seems like in some way it did happen. I've seen too many pictures that are too hard to fake, but I do understand why people think that it is faked, and it could be, some of that footage could be, and they actually really went and they didn't film the right thing. There are a lot of different stories. It's one of those things that might be with us forever in terms of figuring it out, but I always leave room for both. I'm trying to answer all these questions also. Mary, you totally disagree? I'm happy to hear your thoughts on that. Yo, what's going on? Eat all your fish, right? Fish come through? I see. Maybe? maybe not. Oh no, I don't see that. Alright, maybe I'm wrong. What's going on, Jimbo? I see ya. Oh, Mary, that sounds dark, but I mean, please elaborate, I guess, on, are you talking about retribution? Or are you talking about sadness and loss? Or are you talking about feeling that the universe is fair or unfair? Because it's certainly not, there is no fair or unfair as far as I'm concerned. When Lennox says, I'm too far down the rabbit hole on this one, well, I'll give you one thing to look up. So if you take up the Flickr account of the Apollo missions, there are about 8,000 photos. That's a deep dive. And then check out Apollo 16 ultraviolet photos of the Earth. Both of those are very, to me, impossible to fake without some sort of either robotic craft or people actually going to the moon. So that's kind of where I stopped it. Let's see, Matthew is saying, I'm glad that I engaged. This is the wrong communication process for this conversation. It's not about me, you, telling people they're right or wrong. There's just a correct and incorrect, and I'll leave it be. Honestly, like, no disrespect, but I don't understand those types of, like, final statements on the thing. I don't even know what you were really trying to get me to talk about, but basically, this channel is not about telling people what's right or wrong, or how right or wrong a person is. You know what I mean? Like, that's so exhausting. So many channels do that already. So this channel is completely the opposite of that. And while, yes, like, obviously I write music, I do astro imaging, I do astronomy. So telling me that there's a process for things that is right and wrong seems pretty obvious, to be honest. So obviously I understand there's a process to things. Not every approach is right. There's obviously a correct approach to do something. However, that is not correct across the board. In art, there are 100 ways to approach a project. In the real world, there are 100 ways to approach building a house. There are also a lot of ways to approach astroimaging, conspiracy theories, scientific discoveries. So while yes, there's this idea of right and wrong, there is no really right or wrong except in the eye of the beholder. Yeah, my music. Well, on SoundCloud, I don't really update it very much, but you can check out the description for the Bandcamp link and the 3 albums on iTunes and Spotify. Sorry, just adjusting this moon here. It got bright all of a sudden. Jimbo says, R.I. Starkus is the key to the universe. Universe. I'm kidding. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Anyway, feel free to keep going. Maybe this is not the right forum, but I don't know. Send me a note if you want to keep talking about it. Matthew Arndt says, for words to have a meaning, they actually have a meaning. Like for real, for us to reference. Well, that's you would. Well, I don't know how many times you've seen the show, but that's something that I find I take very seriously. I'm always trying to approach the vernacular and articulation of problems and dialogue in different and new ways. So I very much refrain from saying this is right or wrong, or 100% this or 100% that. So you'd think, anyway, I'm not trying to get into an argument about it, more so, I just want to see what you're trying to get at specifically. What's going on, V-Smart? Nice to see you. Len Lennox says, how do you keep locked on the moon with your camera? I'm a musician too, what do you play? Well, I'll take a music interlude in a second and I'll play you some of the tracks. Basically, I've been writing and playing for over 20 years, guitar and piano and little drums. And then I started writing tracks about 10 years ago. And then 5 years ago, I started writing tracks for space for like doing this show. And so I've written a lot since then, and I write kind of all over the place, from ska and reggae to mantra to rock to pop to electronic, house music, just whatever comes to mind when I'm watching the moon. Description of the video has the link. You can go stream stuff, and I'll post that for you all too. What's going on, Sensei Camillo? Mary, did you respond to me up there? I'm not sure. I was just going to re-reference that because that was pretty heavy about your partner being murdered. That is really not an easy thing to deal with, I'm sure. I wouldn't pretend to know. But I've definitely dealt with difficult relationships before, and it's never easy. I hope I didn't imply that. Hey, I appreciate that, Buttercup. I try. I think it's important. People get annoyed when you're online and you just obfuscate information and just like, yeah. I like to try and be frank. Nice, you play guitar. That's great. Guitar, listen, any instrument really teaches discipline, humbles a person, and is a lifelong partner. For me, guitar is the go-to when I'm feeling down and out, you know what I mean? What's going on? Super Must See says, would love to hear some reggae. All right, let me see if I can find some reggae stuff. Like, I'll be honest, I know that I could do it because I did a bunch of Bob Marley covers. So I feel like I can tap into that classic, like 70s, 80s reggae sound, that real ska, Lee Scratch Perry style sound. But I haven't written very many of my own, although I have written a couple. I'm looking here to see if I can find one. Or I'll just play the Slave Driver cover and y'all see. Just let me finish up in the chat room. Matthew says, I'll stop interrupting. Thank you for your channel. Hey, I appreciate your company and please feel free to ask me any questions like that. Like, I was also joking about being a social justice warrior. I'm not really out there to kind of tell people how to behave. However, I will stand up for what I feel is ethically a better way to approach things. If somebody is being derogatory, or somebody's using something like a snowflake to describe somebody who's sensitive or is a novice, I don't know if that's really the best way to use that language. And also to twist and distort beautiful things to mean negative things is also something that really bothers me. So I do make it part of my kind of domain. When I'm around that type of behavior, I either completely avoid it or I mention something about rearranging that language to make more sense. So I'm going to move on from that. Mary's saying, sorry, I didn't mean to chuckle. I got like, that's what happens when you deal with difficult topics. Sometimes you chuckle. So Mary's saying, my partner wasn't murdered. That's great to hear. It was an example. No, I know. I mean, I assumed that. I don't know if you would have mentioned that like so openly if it was true. However, it is a good example. I'm sure it's impossibly difficult to deal with something like that. However, I feel like the human race and people that I've met, and I've dealt with loss in my life. My father died when I was a teenager, and I thought that I could never deal with something like that, but of course I did deal with something like that pretty well, considering. So you really never know until the moment hits, and then you kind of, maybe it is that moment in your life that defines the way you behave. So I always look forward to difficult challenges in my life. I'll talk more about it, but let's just see what else. Soiled Bottom, what's going on? Interesting icon. Says, can I talk a little bit more about the wave, similar to Crow 777's lunar wave? Also, respect to Crow, but he definitely doesn't own the wave. Many people have caught it, and I'm going to quickly just drop a couple of links in here that will explain it a lot better. But so my thoughts on it are that you can pretty much rule out camera anomalies, camera glitches, and you can rule out regular airplanes and 747s. And you can also rule out regular atmospheric distortion. I'm pretty certain about that, although everyone's free to disagree with me. And I have some playlists put together. One is all the waves that I've caught, and one is a compilation of 11 waves plus 2 other videos that I think actually reference the wave in a physical manner. So basically, it's a sonic boom or a shock wave event that creates a double wave aberration in our atmosphere. So whether it's asteroids or missile tests or hypersonic, supersonic jets, I don't know, but it seems to be a sonic boom in our within the Earth's atmosphere, which is pretty big. So what's going on, Kimberly? Nice to see you. I'm going to quickly share these playlists. So this is the waves from other people. So using this, you can see that it's not the camera, because it's a bunch of different cameras, and you can see that it's not, and also people film it and move the camera, so it's certainly not the camera. And it's always 2, and it's always sharp, and airplane trails tend to be turbulent and spiraling, and these are very sharp. So you can really rule out a bunch of stuff using this, and at the bottom you'll see the explaining lunar wave by 2040, shout outs to him, and shockwave shadows in ultra slow motion. About 2 minutes in, you'll see what looks like a lunar wave, which is an aftershock to a bullet passing by. So it is a supersonic, hypersonic event. However, what it's from, I'm not really sure. That's the update on the lunar wave, as far as I can understand it. So that's the longer playlist, and I'm just going to quickly share one more. And then I'll have a music break. So those are a couple of lunar waves that I caught, and the Jupiter and Saturn one. Pretty much all of these were done live on stream. So everybody saw this happening, and I think the Jupiter and Saturn one made me really convinced that it wasn't aircraft and it wasn't the camera. So let me know what you all think about all that. It's still up in the air, pun not intended, but I'll take it. All right, time for a little break, and let me see if I have it queued up. I couldn't find that reggae track, but I'll have to upload it for next time. I'll just play some live. For now, I'll throw on something else called... Oh, this is the Alan Watts track that I did. This one's a good one.
If you want life, don't cling. Let go.
Hey, what's up, Charlie Silverman? I want to say thanks for dropping me those links in Discord. It took me a second to catch them, and I will give them a good listen. Mary is Mr. Parker. You mean Chris Parker? I haven't seen him in a while. I mean, I haven't seen him post, or I think he's still on Twitter though. He stopped doing the Astro stuff. Of course he is. If he joins, everybody is. As you can tell, I'm cool with pretty much everybody. And that's rare on YouTube.
I may be like a person who has a bad habit as a result of...
All right, little music break.
He knows that, but can't. If you want life, don't cling. Let go. How can I desire not to desire? How can I surrender myself when myself is precisely an urge to hold on, to cling to life, to continue to survive? I may be like a person who has a bad habit, as a result of which he is committing suicide. He knows that, but can't give it up, because the means of death are so sweet. The way the world actually is an enormously complex, interrelated organism. People undergoing shock, people locked in the colorless, monotonous corridors of mental institution. If you want life, don't cling. Is that if you are really aware of your own inner workings, we didn't have some campaign to have an improved brain. When you see that there's nothing else, there's nothing else. If you want life, don't cling.
So just want to hop in here. I'm pretty sure it's not Gplayman, unfortunately. I think it's just iTunes, Spotify, and let's see, and Amazon. So yeah, and what's up to everybody joining? Let me know if I missed you in the chat. I was just showing a little bit of Copernicus, which is the new feature tonight coming out from under the Terminator. Hexagonal walls, like, and even in its center kind of flat floor has its own geometry. I was about to draw a little bit more. You can see this nested platonic. That's really not good. Might try a little better. That, and that. So just long and short hexagons. Oh, from the Tampa area, South Florida. Wait, did something pass by? I thought I saw a bird, but was it something a little bit more specific? Because I know I'm reading the comments and also messing with this paint program. Yeah, check the timestamp in the bottom left corner. The really small one, you can give everybody that reference. Is that what you're talking about? 2101, you did that. Sorry. All right, let me see. 2101. That was a while ago. Oh man, what's going on, Greg J? Good to see you, man. Welcome. Big fan. And I listened to some of your show from last night. I heard you went live when I was streaming with the gents. And yeah, great content. Happy for the growth of your channel. And my regulars know that I shout you out pretty often when I go through the list of EU people. You can see the description of my video. So just taking a look at the lunar surface right here. What's going on, Rick Dangerous? How are you? I guess, consider Tampa, South Florida. I guess so, but maybe it's not to everybody. What's going on, VW Blue Sky? Shout outs to Keith. What up, Critical Thinker? Cool, y'all. So, lots of people coming in from P&K. Welcome to all of y'all. Please feel free to make yourselves home. It's the old school stream. We got some regulars and got some new people. Lots of info in the description of my videos, including this one, and you know, ask questions to everybody. What's up, Cian Tao? How's it going? Peace and love. I'm in Cleveland. My wife's looking out the window, watching the clouds go in front of and behind the moon. I know it looks like that, but I'm pretty sure that the clouds don't go behind the moon, but it does look like that for sure, optically. All right, tunes and a little bit more moons. Let's go around. Yo, just jumping in here because the chat is happening. What's going on, David Schmidt? Good morning. Yeah, please come over. Just give me a second to respond to everybody. So let me know if I missed you or if you have any questions. It's just me running this thing. So I'm trying to keep the moon in view. It's looking really nice and sharp. So I'm happy to provide the view tonight. Let's see. Mary is asking, P&K was zooming the other day on a crater that protruded. Can I zoom in on it? If you could find me just like a reference location or a name, Mary, I'm happy to zoom in wherever you'd like. Right now, I got the focal reducer in, so it's pretty wide shot. I could get much closer, but let's see what we want to look at first. Yeah, I guess it's Central Florida. Yeah. But I'm on the beach, so. Matthew says, what is my setting as we sit here and watch? I am looking due south right now, and the moon is just a few degrees southwest, but pretty much due south, looking at like 35 degrees altitude. Let's see. Double check that. I use Stellarium for tracking. Jupiter is starting to set, actually. I want to go over there before it gets too late, but moon is currently 38 degrees altitude. I hope that's what you were asking. I wonder if that's what you were asking. Let me know. Shout outs to Centurion. I appreciate you hanging out, all the new people. What's up, Timeless Truths? Again, tech, involved, impressive. This is the old school scope where I started TakeBackSpace. This is the 8-inch Nexstar, but I've definitely upgraded the camera to the Sony Alpha 6500. Let's take a quick look at Clavius and Tico and see what kind of magnification we're dealing with. Oh, in terms of the hologram and wave thing, I referenced it a bit earlier in this show. I went into a much deeper dive about it, but I really think that the moon is a real object. I don't think holograms are projections, even though Star Wars makes you think that they are. Holograms are really the fact that it's recursive, the fact that you have the image of a rose or like a piece, whatever the picture in this holographic film, if you cut the holographic film into tinier and tinier pieces, and you shine a laser through it, you'll basically see the image of the original whole on the smaller and smaller pieces of holographic film. This is what the original conceit was. So for me, holism, holography, holistic living, all of this is more about the whole. You know, the connections from the small to the large on magnitude scales. So I feel that hologram just means that things are recursive and fractal across magnitudes. So the universe is a reflection of the smaller version of itself, and the smaller version is a reflection of the larger universe. So that's what I think holograms are. Lunar wave, I know it looks like a scan line for a lot of people. That's really what it's called. If you look at 90s VHS tapes or Betamaxes, you'll see this idea of a scan line going across the screen, but those are usually parallel and perpendicular to the bottom of the screen and or horizontal. These ideas of the lunar waves are much more an atmospheric turbulence, but it's not just like airplane turbulence or your regular atmospheric distortion. It's definitely, it has its own momentum, it's a sharp edge, it has speed, it has pulse. If you look at shock waves or sonic booms, that's the closest, I think. I know, what's up, Rick, Shockwave, and I know Greg J's in the house. A lot of cool people showing up tonight. I love it. Man, so much going on. But the nature of the lunar waves, I think I quickly am going to post this again for everybody just joining. This is my compilation of lunar waves that I caught, and this is a compilation of 11 other lunar waves that I compiled, and at the end of that playlist you'll see 2 videos one of which is a shockwave sonic boom, and another one is a high-speed bullet. You can see the wake of the bullet, and that's the closest thing I've seen to this. You'll see these 10 videos or 11 videos basically completely debunking camera being an effect of this and airplanes being an effect of this. It's one thing that I just really wanted to clear up. So that's so far what I think it is. Definitely think the moon's real, and I'm going to zoom in on Tycho and Clavius right now. Oh, but let me give a shout out. Let me give a shout out to the Astro Imaging channel. They're also streaming right now, and they do all the deep sky imaging stuff. So I'm going to give a shout out to them. If you're interested in that type of work, these are the best guys to do it. And they stream on Sunday nights. Hey y'all. So, just wanted to jump in here. Got Tycho pulled up. I switched out the focal reducer and put the camera direct to the 8-inch. Shockwave is telling me, I mentioned to Greg that you're starting to talk with guests. He's interested, and he said he'd love to get on with you at some point. That's going to be an amazing show. I'm so excited to get finally one, like guests on the show, and then two, getting, of course, Electric Universe people, and of course, free thinkers in that arena. So yeah, it would be great. I was thinking about doing a talk show tonight, but I'm going to keep it like, 50-50, music shows and then talk shows, just not to lose that vibe, because I think there is something to do with calming music and having a vibey show where I just talk about random stuff. Let's see, but I think it's going to be amazing, so shout outs to Greg J. And yesterday, of course, Electric Universe Eyes joined us, and that was a really fun show if you missed it. So Tycho over here, and I also want to show Clavius. Tycho Brahe, exactly. Matthew Arndt says, how would it follow the curvature of the moon? Let's see, maybe I missed what your comment was. Oh, because if you look at the playlist, you'll see that if a ripple emanates from a shock wave, like a shock boom, it goes out in like a pond ripple, like so concentric circles outwards. And when it would cross over the moon, it would have extended much to the point where it would look like a straight line crossing the moon. But in fact, it's still probably part of a transverse wave. Same thing with like Saturn and Jupiter. Those are much smaller. So the fact that it actually registers at all over Saturn and Jupiter makes it very fascinating to me. Somebody's playing with the like. This is the like-dislike game. It's pretty funny. All right, let's see. Tycho crater. And Clavius. Man, Clavius always looks great. This is the reference from the movie 2001: Space Odyssey. Yo, make sure your settings are on 4K. I hope I am. Yeah, I'm definitely streaming in 4K, y'all. So, thanks, David Schmidt, though, for the compliment. All right, so let's zoom in here a little bit. Yo, what's going on, Joe Salomon? Welcome back. So zoomed in here at Clavius crater. You can see the chain of craters. This is one of those things that is often attributed to, an impact strike with a series of rocks, basically impacting the moon and then leaving this trail. But for me, especially moving towards the fact that the moon has been scarred electrically with large plasma bolts. You also have these very interesting geometric strings or chains of craters. So some are along a filamentary current, and some are in this kind of, this almost looks like the beginning of a Fibonacci sequence of a spiral. It's so perfect that it seems very strange that some impact would come and create this. These are very large as well, so Clavius is a huge feature. I want to say it's something like, actually I don't need to guess. It is 225 kilometers across, and you see it kind of pulled elliptically because it's on the edge of the sphere. Shockwave, you're going to give me a hard time for it, but you can say, what are you saying, Tycho? It is Tycho, Brahi, but I know a lot of people say Tycho. What do y'all think? Does it really matter? I tend to kind of just gravitate between the two of them. Honestly, also because Tycho is actually fun to say. Tycho Brahe, I would think. So tiny bit of haze here. You can even see the tiny like sputtering remnants between the chain. And then let's take a look at the central peak of Tycho crater. What I really want to talk about earlier tonight when I first got on was I have this whole, the origin of lunar craters and lunar sinuous rails by Ralph Jurgens. There's a paper that he wrote in Ponce magazine about how they were really trying to figure out how electric scarification left all these remnants, like central peaks, little craters on the rims of larger craters preferentially, magnetic hotspots, transient lunar phenomenon, electrostatic levitation. Many phenomena on the moon are really unsolved mysteries at this point, so it's still fun. I've learned Eyepieces, man. Actually, speaking of which, I should go check on Jupiter and Saturn before it gets too late. At least Jupiter is going to set soon, so let me go get us a little view, and we'll come back to the moon. Let's also put on a tune. Alright, Jupe's coming into view. No great red storm, but it's actually pretty clear. So I feel like Saturn's gonna look good. What's going on, Dude Highness? I'll be heading back to the moon shortly. Joe Salamone says, TBS, have you seen the dude on YouTube shows all the pentagrams on Earth? So it's very easy to basically draw geometry on top of planets, I feel. And that geometry coupled with pareidolia, the idea that the mind fills in all these patterns and gaps, it would make sense that you'd be able to draw a pentagram or a hexagon on pretty much any surface and kind of end up with something that looks relatively like that. Furthermore, it seems very likely that many cities were built on these ritualistic diagrams and sacred geometric diagrams. So it wouldn't shock me if there were pentagrams and geometry and platonics built into cities, diagrams, and buildings. However, is it evil? Maybe it's evil, maybe it's not. Or maybe it's evil and it doesn't matter, you know? Mary, much love to you and have a great night. Many hearts. I love that little icon. And yeah, sleep well. Always great to have you. And I know I owe you some lyrics. I haven't forgotten. We'll definitely get some inverted moon, that's for sure. So I don't think it's a smudge on the lens. I feel like there is a little bit of darkness on the upper ring, on the upper storm ring. Right in the middle there's a bit of dim kind of coloring. Crow777 says that he feels that space is water. Didn't I say the same? That's one of those things that when I talk to Crow, I think we talked about it on his show, one of his first podcasts, actually the first podcast on his show. And I think I disagreed with him about that. I don't think it's water in the way that people think of water. I think that people think that space, like there's somehow a glass ceiling that can crack and let in water from space. And I really don't think it's like that. I think it's much more so a plasma sheath that's like an invisible energy layer. And outside of that, there's a null zone. And then after that, there's another plasma shell. And after that, there's another null zone. After that, there's another plasma shell. So, and these plasma shells are basically high density induction energy in the dielectric field, the ether, dark matter. And, you could make a metaphor that space is like water, but it's certainly, in my opinion, not H2O. But that's my opinion. Could be a different version of, like, I think we are a hydrogen-based solar system universe, so hydrogen is prevalent in different forms, and so I feel like there is this kind of sense that things are mostly water, but I don't think water, as we know on Earth, propagates through space. I think space is charged particles that move in waves of plasma in a way, along filamentary Birkeland currents, magnetic field lines, and they're all intersecting like your skin, like bacteria, like cellular cultures in little petri dishes. I think space is more like that. I mean, we do observe the light on the plasma shell. However, it's not made up light. It's an image from something called the moon, but it's not like projected on the plasma shell by a projector. It's just, or I don't know if that's what you're implying. I know I always misread you, but I just mean that, yes, the plasma shell is affecting the optics. We're seeing the moon at a different angle because of refraction. And so, yeah, it's not a completely one-to-one, like seeing planets as if you were seeing them with the naked eye. Nimnet, what's going on, says, please do another show with Crow. Join the forum too. I'll be honest, I kind of get into debates like that. I don't necessarily want to get into debates like that, which is why I haven't done more shows in that arena. I've definitely been moving towards the electric universe, and I feel like my time is spent better there, given that I'm not really a professional YouTuber. I just spend whatever time I have sharing a good image of space and my thoughts. Crow's got his own thing, and I originally had 2 shows with him, so I think that was good. What's going on, Drady? Also, the idea of a vacuum, I think, is a misunderstood concept. Vacuum doesn't mean empty. Vacuum just means vacuum isn't even a thing. It's kind of what something does. And so there's a lot of, if you guys follow Angry Photographer, Theoria Apophysis, Ken Wheeler, he talks about the idea of reifying math, reifying concepts like shadows and waves. I think a lot of that is very on point. If you start really getting away from the space-time idea, you can start thinking about the world around us in a different way. I actually think about it in a much more interesting way, which is, for me at least, which is the fact that space, all of space, everything around you actually comes to a point in your eye. And we never really consider like what focus is, vanishing point, what is comprehension and consciousness when it comes to optics or sensations or senses. Everyone's talking about like telepathy and everything, but nobody really understands optics or why things come into focus from pure white light. So for me, I think I'm still there, even before the shape of the world or anything like that. So I think vacuum is filled with charged particles. It just behaves in a way that sucks and then also blows. So everything is kind of moving through an hourglass shape and then around a toroidal form. And all of these toroidal forms are kind of mishmashed like bubbles in a sink. And the reason kind of water is implied is because ether could definitely be like manifest in modalities. So ether manifests as electricity, magnetism, gravity, all these different things that we see. And then you can throw out dark matter, Big Bang, and the standard cosmology that doesn't take into account the electric force. So Ken used to be really a huge proponent of the electric universe, and people, he kind of went his own way, and like Ben Davidson as well. So there's a bit of fragmentation in the EU cosmology circles, but I think ultimately it's one of these really interesting lenses by which to look at the universe, where everything is actually connected through electricity, and it's just different magnitudes of that and different modalities of that that create everything that we see, including matter, gravity, etc. Let's see what's going on in the chat here. I'm going to switch over to Saturn in a second.
said that I had to get older, 'cause I was thinking of calling you up to bring me back towards emotion. Let's meet down by the house of cards and watch the sun go supernova. 10,000 days on earth I've waited all along the trip. 10,000 days on earth I've played along while the record skips. And all I've got to say, we all rock the same. Oh, all I got to say, we all rock the same. Come on, high, floating slow through desert sands. I just know we're right. Higher, floating slow through desert lands. Throw your arms down. Just a whisper from your thunder, just the crackling of the rain. Don't go missing in the splendor. Try to capsize my brain. And all I got to say, we all rock the same. Oh, all I got to say, we all rock the same. Come on.
Yo, what's up, everybody? So, over here at Kronos, a little bit of Saturn. This is wide shot still. Got Titan, Eyepieces, Dione, Rhea, and Tethys. Saturnian system.
It's the end, so let's just play the odds.
Thanks for hanging out, everybody. Cool, calm chat room tonight. 10:41. Still got a lot to do on the moon, but I just want to get us some planetary features real quick. I'll do a zoom in shot of Saturn as well. Jimbo says, can I give, let me scroll back down. Can you please give your thoughts on one thing in your experience are the sun and the moon distances and sizes they taught us in school. So I've done plotting in 3D programs, and I've checked a lot of them, and for a little while I was like, are the distances correct? And for some reason, not for some reason, they do match up correctly if you put them all together in a sort of 3D program and you check the distances and sizes. They seem to line up. If you put a camera on Earth and you put the moon at the size that it is, which is 2,160 kilometers, and you put it at a distance of 259,000 miles, you will essentially see what we see. And the same thing with the sun. Now, at the same time, it is amazing that the sun and the moon essentially are the same kind of size and so perfectly circular. And it is amazing that we get to somehow measure these distances using a form of math, a form of math of trigonometry, to really gauge these distances. The first one, I think, that they were doing to kind of gauge original distances, if you want to look it up, you want to look up Kepler's third law and standard candles and this idea of stellar parallax. But really for the moon and the sun, they use the speed of light to measure it. So the moon is 1 light second away, I believe, roughly. And the sun, the light takes 8 minutes to reach us. And so they use that determination, deduction for distance. However, there is a possibility, which could be complete speculation, but for me, the idea of plasma shells changing the way we view things, either magnifying them or shrinking them. So for a little while I was thinking that when we look out into space, are we really seeing things at the correct size, or is it a little bit like a rear view mirror where things appear larger or smaller? So that still could be a thing, because we do see kind of refracted and diffracted imagery all the time from space. Things are not perfectly coming from Saturn to our eye. Things are being bent and refracted constantly. So that's my take on it. Likely they are at the correct distances. However, if you take into account things like Halton Arp's redshift reinterpretation, the fact that maybe quasars and galaxies are actually not as far as, let's say, 20 light years. Maybe there's something more like 1 light year or tens of millions of miles. I don't know. There still could be some discrepancy. If you apply the idea of refraction, diffraction, and magnification to space, and then you also take away the fact that the speed of light is a constant, perhaps it's not, throughout the galaxy. You take quantizing and scalar properties, and perhaps physics and light and distances change in different parts of the universe. So there are a lot of ideas there for me, but likely the distances are correct to some degree. Anti-Pax, what's going on? Jose and Sarah, you make our evenings a lot more chill. That's really nice of you to say. I appreciate that. I have a question about your rig. Can you tell us about the mechanism that compensates for the rotation of the Earth? Yeah, so this is an 8-inch Celestron Nexstar scope, and it has a single arm mount, and that's really what telescopes use to track the sky. It uses a mount, and if you look up telescope mount, you'll get a whole bunch of different results. But essentially it has an internal clock and a gear system that moves very slowly in accordance to however you set up the alignment. So typically I'll kind of point it to the moon and say auto align, but when I really want to get it stable, I'll do a 2-star alignment, which is the second level. You can also do like a 2-star plus a polar alignment, which you really should, but I can't see Polaris from here. And I also really can't see that set of stars in the north. So I typically just do a 2-star alignment, and then I'll go over to one of the planets and do a micro adjustment. And so the mount after that tracks pretty well. Like right now I'm not pressing anything, but if I did leave, if I magnified by 2-3x, it would slowly drift off of screen. So there is drift, but I have pretty good tracking tonight. Cool. All right, I'm gonna take a little break, and I'll zoom in here to Saturn. I'm gonna have a little smoke outside. I really appreciate everybody hanging out, and yeah, make sure you're clicking the 4K button if you haven't, and check out the description if you haven't already. There's a lot of good links in there to music and lots of awesome Electric Universe people. If you haven't checked their channels out, really just smart guys and talking about things, doing laboratory experiments. I'll do a quick run through. Greg J, Chronos, Electric Universe Eyes, See the Pattern, the Electric View, and of course Thunderbolts Project, Suspicious Observers, Buddy Dougherty. Michael Steinbacher's stuff was re-uploaded by Electric Universe Eyes. Sky Scholar, Pierre-Marie Robitaille will be back probably in the next few months. He'll start doing videos again. And give those guys a like and a follow. Or just check it out. It's always good to know other sides of the larger theories. What's happening, Michael Wise? How you doing? And of course the Electric View. I missed the main one. So I've been hanging out with those guys. I was on it today, and that show will be out soon, but I'm going to drop that link for y'all. There are going to be a lot more shows, and hopefully I'll do one that's totally about the moon.
People are associated with drugs and the trafficking of marijuana and violence.
Okay. Yo, yo, yo. Alright, this jam goes on for a while. Thanks for all the nice words about the tunes. Yeah, I used to be in bands a while back, years and years ago, and then I decided to just spend a lot of time writing by myself until I could figure out how to like make tunes that I wanted to listen to. Took me a while, but a lot of these are just me like creating a band environment to solo over. But I really take pride in creating cool jam tracks and playing live bass lines. And I do have a drum kit, but I'm really not as good on drums. I'm good at programming them, but playing them is just the best, but I kind of suck. Let's see what's happening in the chat room. Shockwave, you heading out soon? I feel you. You got work to do. It's Sunday night, rolling into 11 o'clock here. And I got the 2X with a lot of junk on the lens. You can see these little dust bunnies. But I was trying to get us a close-up shot of Saturn. Jupiter is racing towards setting, so I think maybe I'll go back there for a second. We should just take a look at it before I head to the moon. And want to say what's up to Andrew Johnson. Welcome. Nice to see you. Okay. More jams coming up. Joe Solomon says, Dutch Sensei has a theory that the Earth core is plasma, not molten iron. Well, I think that molten iron is likely some sort of modality of plasma, so I don't think it's really different necessarily, but I would, honestly, I'm not sure what is at the core of Earth, and I'm not sure anybody knows for sure either, but it could definitely be something different than a molten iron core, because the thing is, the deduction of an iron core is due to the necessitative need to have is to derive the magnetic field, as far as I understand. So if magnetic fields can be formed without a molten core, then maybe you don't need the molten core, maybe it's something else. That's a thought or a way to look at that. I feel like there is some sort of merit to the idea that it could be a hollow Earth with some sort of very powerful center, a geodesic center. I was seeing, if you look up, if you guys want to see an interesting diagram, I'll show you a Poincaré disk model. So Poincaré is what Ken Wheeler always references. He's like Henri Poincaré. So essentially this is the stuff that Einstein was riffing on. So the Poincaré disk model, there it is. Not the first two images, but if you scroll down you'll see a Poincaré ball, and you'll see this very interesting kind of icosahedron inside a sphere. These are just full-on speculations, but if you want to have fun with that, you can see some great images. Yeah, definitely check out Halton Arp. He was one of the last kind of astronomers and scientists who was speaking publicly, who actually did observational science and used a big telescope and actually derived results from the data. We seem to live in a world now where the majority of work is done solely on simulations and math, and people get awards and funding based on these theoretical concepts, which is fine to some degree, but it's much better if we return to real observational evidence. Part of why I do this channel was to really log and to showcase what space really looks like from Earth. And a lot of the reason I think that people are actually disenfranchised with science is because there's such a lack of actual imagery. All right, I'm going to quickly run over to Jupiter and then back to the moon. More jams. Alright, my peeps. I think Jupiter's probably going to be setting by the time I get back to it, so we'll say goodnight to the great destroyer, Nibiru, and the cool moon configuration. I'm going to head over to the moon, and we'll do some deep dives. It's a race to space. Rick, be well, my man. Sleep well, and hope you get your tasks all finished soon. I'll catch up with you. Peace, brother. What's up, everybody? I want to say hi to Cruisin' with Jay. I appreciate it, and thanks so much, David Schmidt, for the nice comment about the time. Yeah, spent a lot of years playing and writing in 4/4 and pentatonic minor, and like in my early 30s, I was like, I'm going to break these habits. I'm going to figure out how to write polymetrically and learn how to write in different time signatures. And that's coming on about 10 years of practice. And so this track actually is like recent. It's from a couple of weeks ago or a month ago. And it's my first, like, all right, I'm going to write something in 5/8 that doesn't suck, but like actually listenable versus, you know, following all these kind of different rules. I was like, I'm going to try and feel it. I'm going to throw in some horns. And I programmed all the drums. And I was like, I'm going to try and get some like guitar lines playing in and out with the horn lines. And now I'm talking about music, but 7/8's fun. Doing like 11/8 is actually really fun. It took me a while to understand how to interpret it, but there are a lot of great teachers right now on YouTube doing music theory, like Adam Neely and Rick Beato, and Signals music is amazing. That guy Jeff is just super amazing teacher. So David Schmidt saying, saw an interview with Steve Vai on his audition for Zappa's band. Gave him a hard piece to play, he played it. Then Zappa said, okay, now play it in 7/8. Then he played it in 7/8. Then Zappa said, okay, now play it in reggae 7/8. Yeah, I've heard a bunch of interviews about that. Basically, Steve Vai was transcribing and annotating all the scores, and he did, what's that one, that black something, like really difficult piece. He transcribed that, and no one else had been able to do it. Let's see, Zappa, Black Page. Yeah, at like 16, he had transcribed that. So Zappa kept paying him to, or like tempting him with joining the band when he was 16, and he kept annotating and creating all the scores for the rest of the band based on little cassettes that Frank would send him. And man, that's unbelievable. What Vai really likes to talk about now is polyrhythms and and what are they, like tuplets. He talks about tuplets and breaking down little time signatures into little groupings. The guy's like out of his mind on time signatures, and he's probably one of the best thinkers and philosophers on breaking and quantizing time. I would encourage everybody to listen to Steve Vai talk about time signatures with Rick Beato. Anyway, I'm gonna make sure. Sorry, black music, exactly, Black Page. It completely like escaped my mind for a second. What's going on, somebody somewhere? Yeah, Rick Beato's the man. Copper Tropicals, thank you for the thumbs. I appreciate it. Yeah, I've never really programmed horns before, and I'm really enjoying that. I have another track I can play for y'all that also has horns, and this was the first one that I did with horns, and I was like trying to channel Chicago, because I really like old Chicago, Terry Kath. I'm not ignoring the moon. I'm just, actually, let me switch to the wide shot while I chat with y'all. I'm doing a lot of different things. David Schmidt's talking about the Mission Impossible theme, the dun 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 dun. Sorry, I can't even sing. Dun, 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 dun. That's a famous song in 5/4. The other one is Take 5, of course. They probably called it that because they were just messing with the beat. It's the dun 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 dun. I'm having terrible latency. That's why I'm having trouble singing this. Let me see. Yeah, I was really failing. a couple of shows, I'll play from my other setup where I have the guitar. I'll play it properly, but that's a famous one. That's 5/4. And of course, 7/8 is money. So boom, boom, doo, doom, boom, doo, 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 boom, doom, doo, doom, boom, doom, doom, boom. No copyright strike, but it's basically like 7/8 is essentially a measure of 4 and then a measure of 3. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, turning it to music theory. But that's how I finally figured it out. I'm like breaking it up into 4s and 3s and 2s. Like 11/8 is basically you can do 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 1 2. So it's 9 and then 2. You can break up notes like that. You can break up measures like that. Take 4, take 5. Dave Brubeck, exactly. But I grew up on the George Benson version of that. But I'm having terrible latency tonight. I don't know why. I think it's just crushing. It's really hard to sing anything properly when you're hearing yourself. But it is crispy. It is definitely crispy. All right, I've embarrassed myself enough with mediocre music theory. Now, actually, I think I'm sort of finally getting it. It took me a lot of years. I felt very dumb when I was listening to music theoreticians, and it's finally starting to click, like what modality is and how scales reference each other and soloing over chords and playing polymetrically. All these things are finally sinking in, but it did take about 10 years. It's fun. It's fun when you grasp something just enough to be able to actually start learning it and implementing it. So, all right. Tunes and then moons. Here, this is, I want to play the other one with horns. I'm trying to find it. My Chicago ripoff. I went too far, didn't I? There we go. to some Moonage. So those are some new jams. I'm trying to put together a new record for 2019. I hope to get it done soon. And if you like the music, you can check out some of my albums and the Bandcamp link in the description. You can go check out like, I don't know, 80 tracks or so on Bandcamp. Stream them, download individual ones, or get the whole collection for a name your price thing. That's the way to support the channel, or just go give it a stream. Anyway, let's get to the Moonage. Got Eratosthenes pulled up, really cool shot of it. This is camera direct to scope. Got no magnifier, extra glass between. And I wanted to do a little bit of sketching because thanks for reminding me. Who reminded me? V-Smart, was it? True Man, thank you. What's up, Zeus Scott? Welcome. Everybody is future now. I'm gonna put some meditative music in the background. Let's take a look at Eratosthenes here, about 60 kilometers across. I never thought in 2019 I'd be saying, let me pull up MS Paint, but such is life. This is the way I can do telestration and write on the screen, which is something I've wanted to do for a long time. I should have done it a while ago, but being able to draw is awesome. So I've got MS Paint going, and then I have a chroma key filter cutting out all the other parts of the interface. So this is Eratosthenes, and what's very interesting is the central peak, but it also looks like this is one of those images that's used constantly in terms of the ufology conspiracy to show a craft, but it's certainly not a craft. It's definitely like a rock formation, especially because of the size of it. So it's probably about 1.5 kilometers or 2 kilometers, or actually maybe like 4 to 5 kilometers, and that's massive. Joe Solomon says, so I don't have a chat donate. Nope, no chat donate. A lot of people recommend that I do that, but YouTube takes so much of the cut, and I kind of want space to be free. That was the whole point of all of this. So I still want to keep it free, but buying my music is something nice that people can do, and that's a good way to support the channel. But otherwise, I really want to keep the whole channel free of moderators, judgment, and money, you know, even though I know donations are not like necessarily guilt-free or not guilty, but sometimes they're not guilt-free. Lots of bird flybys for sure. So here at Copernicus, seeing the central peaks. Of course, you all know I talk about electric universe and how these craters are formed. Copernicus being at this particular vantage point for us, where we're pretty much overhead. We're almost overhead, but we're a little bit, I feel, pulled to the bottom. So tomorrow it'll be more overhead, but you can see excellent remnants of these electrical scars, in my opinion, where the current breaks the filament at the very end, and you see the central peaks. It's arranged in a lot of different ways, and it's too recursive and common for impacts to leave these kind of updrafts that look so particular. So you'd think something the size that would create a 93 kilometer across crater like Copernicus, if an impact really hit this, you'd have so much more randomness in the breakage of the walls. this seems so much more grown, like it almost looks like a flower or a piece of technology. I'm going to draw a little bit of the edges. So this is, in a way, from a distance, a hexagon, but really, if I follow all these edges, you'll see that it's a lot more. It's almost like a dodeca. These objects or features are not really circular, you know? If you look for it, you finally see these corners everywhere. These look much more like crystal, lattice, and hexagonal honeycomb structures that really more correlate with reaction, diffusion growth, and cellular growth division. Yeah, Rick Beato is probably one of the best theoreticians I've ever seen. I gotta say, Adam Neely, whether you like him or not, is actually pretty brilliant. But there are a lot of prodigal musicians lately. It's just insane how many great people there are. It's almost overwhelming. That being said, I still gravitate towards the older bands. I found this amazing album. Man, I'm gonna do a whole show with old prog stuff, but I don't have it on this computer, unfortunately. But by the full moon, I'll also have a list of some divine prog. All right, let's move on from Copernicus. Also, like, you see these kind of elevations from Copernicus coming out. I feel like this is akin to a lightning blister breaking out in geometric boundary layers, concentric platonic geometry at every level. Even the pushing outwards towards the regolith around it also has its own kind of geometric edges. These things are not, if you see ballistic impacts in a laboratory or in a field study, they look nothing like this. This has organization. Truman Zoo, I don't think any earthshine is happening tonight. I think this is the phase at like 78% where earthshine is pretty much not existent. Pretty much not available to see. Partly because I think that's just where it tilts away and it doesn't catch enough for the cameras to pick up the reflection. We can try, but it will blow out. All right, little break. I always have to keep stretching. I'll move around and we'll see some other features. Alright, hopping on here to answer some questions and say thanks for the nice, kind words, everybody. It means a lot, sincerely. Just trying to bring some kindness, non-judgment, and a deep dialogue on contemporary science, because I feel like it's been lacking. There's just a lot of bullying and a lot of name calling, and I think it's time to just kind of put that all aside and really look at some evidence and kind of start analyzing it and deriving some new ideas to work with each other. So back here at Copernicus and Eratosthenes, I want to show a particular feature that I think is indicative of electrical charge. It doesn't look like meteoric impact, nor does it look like something that was caused by anything anything explained. I'll put it that way. I haven't seen any explanations for it, but it's this kind of little chain of craters that almost looks like sputtering or looks like a little trail left behind. So I'm going to zoom in here for a second. It's right between Copernicus and the Eratosthenes. So, and I just want to reference the landslide note to about Huygens' sword. I feel like that's just a part of the lunar surface folding or being pushed for some reason from one region to the next, where I put the arrows, and you can kind of see that it kind of folds in that way. Now, it's unique, and it definitely requires some more thinking, but what it's made of, it's probably the same material as the regolith, as the surface. All right, tunes, dank tunes, and let's zoom in here. So this feature right here is very particular. Kind of have, they're all little spirals, almost like little sputtering marks, and they follow their own kind of tendril pathway. I say sputter, I just imagine electric arc welders, or even when you kind of do it yourself with a soldering iron and that the filament just melts, soldering material. You get these kind of little globules that freeze. Come back. Come back. Sometimes the remote doesn't work. There we go. But ultimately, it kind of grows and leaves. Even when you drop water on the floor or soap in a sink, it looks like some sort of creature. Let me get rid of all these little dots. It almost looks like a person running. Let me see if I can show this. This is where the pareidolia comes in, where you start seeing patterns, but I still find it very interesting. I don't think I've ever had a moonstream with telestration before. So check this out. If you follow that head and the torso and the arm, the other arm, and this, it's like these primitive stick figures. let's go to some other regions. Copernicus looks amazing, but this region next to Plato is coming into view. Let's take a look at Mons Pico, Montes Recti. Wow, look at this. Talk about structures that see, this is the whole thing about ufology that kind of had me duped for a lot of years. I used to see pictures of this region, one of the particular regions, and it does look like some sort of human structure, but you have to understand, it took me a while to understand how large these things really were, and they're just massive, in the realm of 3 to 5 to 10 kilometers, and that's just no way to see structures of that size, or of like normal size from Earth. I explained that pretty poorly, but let me know if I need to repeat it. Essentially, it's very difficult to see structures in craft from Earth. In fact, next to impossible. So it made it a very definitive answer as to whether amateur astronomers were actually capturing buildings on the moon or UFOs. All right, check out this interesting feature. Since we have some new people here, maybe you've seen this on P&K, but I really love this. This is Montes Recti, and it looks like it's one of the, for me, it's one of the very particular words on the moon. At different levels, at different angles and different phases, it looks like different words, or different letters rather. But it's fascinating how a mountain chain like this can appear or grow in this giant area, Mare Imbrium. And I'm actually going to illustrate something really cool, which I haven't noticed before, is the face looking at Montes Recti, this profile. This is exactly why I wanted to get Telestration going. Check this out. Alright, so Montes Recti. It's a little more difficult than I thought. Let's see. I'm also trying to keep it steady. For some reason, the drift just wants to be annoying. Let me just... If I actually give in to the drift, then it works. Alright, let's do the face first, because that's easier. Stop drifting, damn it. Come back. Alright, so... Gotta be fast. It's like win, lose, or draw. Okay, that was terrible. Well, let's see if you notice it. No. This dark area is the eye. That's the head. And then the nose right there. And the mouth. That's also terrible. All right, let me know if you notice the profile yet, or should I keep drawing? I'll keep drawing, whatever. It's too much fun. This is the first opportunity with Telestration to capture this feature, this Montes Recti that I talk about all the time, because it is... Oh, did I change the... There, no. Where's my brush? See, now you can see the interface of MS Paint. This is the worst my screen has looked on TakeBackSpace in 5 years. Where is the brush? Here is the brush. There we go. Okay, so alright, so super must see. Happy Honey Big Bear says, I clearly see the profile, awesome. It's like an Indian or like Aztec, Mayan warrior. It's got even like a little goatee. It could also be a female warrior. And looking right at this feature. Yeah, it looks like Pharaoh Akhenaten, that's a really great point. You can see the chin, right? The chin triangle, like goatee or what they call it. I'm thinking goatee is the whole thing. There's a chin triangle, chin tetrahedron beard. I guess there must be a word for it. Spacing. All right. But even further, I see like bird profiles, little good burbs. Is it working? Yeah, it is. Okay. Sometimes I feel like it's not like connecting. I want to go and see Play-Doh and the chicken claw, which is Mons Pico. This is one I talk about all the time, but man, look at this particular angle or phase that we're looking at it right from above. You can see this claw right here, raptor claw. It's insane how much it looks like that. It does look like a... I mean, I just outlined it. No big deal. I love it. It looks like three little bones, like the thumb and the raptor claw. And this is right next to Plato crater. You can see the chipped wall. And this is particularly unhexagonal. This is one of those few that are not really made of flat walls. It's definitely egg-shaped or teardrop-shaped. See, not everything has to be a hexagon, but where hexagons lie, I shall reveal. Just trying to find something to talk over. All right, we'll go and see this other amazing region. This is going to be epic, I knew it. This is Valles Alpes, which is like this massive cut in the Alpine mountain range. I'll try and highlight it a bit better. We're getting some clouds, alright. I think it's starting to set too. I feel like it's just patchy and Apache. Alright, y'all, I need a little break. I'm gonna grab some snacks and some water, and I'll be back in a few. I'm gonna leave this wide shot going of the moon. Clouds should move through any time. I guess like 10 minutes or so. Did I say 10 minutes? I meant 2. I love drawing on the moon. I'm going to get better at it. And I realized today how I can draw to the top of the screen. So I really need to get myself one of those pens. All right, quick break. Back in a couple.
I left home at 17. Couldn't tell you if I was living a dream. What could I do? For a while I played the field. How could I prove the hidden yield without the blues to feel? My heart was cool and left no residue. Catch me if you fall, catch me when you're low. The look goes high and high, as friends used to know. Catch you when you fall, catch you when you're low. I love you, take a good look, it's a simulation. Wake up in solitary, wake up, it's imaginary. And don't you know, your life is worth more than what you have, take a good look, it's a simulation. Wake up in solitary, wake up, it's imaginary. Man, don't you know, your life is worth more than catch me
Yo, yo, everybody. Man, a little bit of food and some water can really get you right. Thanks for all the nice words, everybody. I appreciate it. Looks like it's cleared up again. I'm gonna keep playing y'all some groovy tunes. All these are like, not all of these, but a lot of these are demos, especially the newer stuff. That last one though, Catch, that's on my album Captain of the Stars. Link is in the description if you want to go listen to it or download it. I'm totally learning how to do all the songwriting production stuff. So it's just the genre is basically authentic, sloppy, and real. There's so much polished music out there that's overly produced, overly mastered, overly auto-tuned. I was like, let me make some music that's not, you know, crap, but also that's not overly touched and too manipulated. But that being said, I do like synthesizers. I love layering tons and tons of guitar. But there's some sort of sound to it. Current music really has lost dynamic range, and auto-tune really kills it, just kills music for me. It's almost impossible to listen to it. Here, Earthshine. I really don't think we can see it, my man, but I'll show you.
Trouble.
All right, everybody. Rolling into the last segment here. Maybe another 30 minutes or so. Got Saturn about to start setting. You can see it kind of shifting and starting to stretch. But you can see Titan right at the 6 o'clock of Saturn. Rhea, Tethys, Dione, Iapetus, all the way to the right. Yeah, going on 3 hour 20 here. We still got a little bit of moonage to go. It's not done, and I still have some telestration to do. How y'all feeling? We got a packed house still. Sunday night. I'll toast one. To everybody new, make sure you hit the bell if you'd like to be notified. You probably know that. And check out the description for links to the music and gear setup, and also links to other cool Electric Universe channels. And shout out to Thunderbolts Project for really allowing people like me and Shockwave and others to have a filter by which to view the world in a new way, an empowering form of physics and astronomy. I appreciate y'all respecting my my presentation of all these ideas. I know I try and measure what I say, but also I talk about a lot of radical stuff, and people are very respectful, and I like that, and I appreciate that. That's what I'm trying to say. And then, of course, a shout out to the Electric View. I was on a show with them today. That show will be out soon. It was a long session, and actually Andrew Hall, who does videos for Thunderbolts Project. Actually, let me link to Andy's blog. Is it the Daily Plasma? I think it's the Daily Plasma. Let me check. Yeah, so I was on a call with this guy today. It was crazy. Being that close to being able to talk about these ideas. Why can I not find it right now? All right, this is one of the videos. So yeah, was on the chat with them. A lot of interesting people there. Neil and Rick and Buddy and Ramon. And we're chatting today about a lot of different topics. It was like almost insane how long we were on for, like 4 hours at least. And there were a few people from this chat who showed up at the Electric View and hung out with us, so thanks for that. Also last night, the Electric Universe Eyes, David hung out with us, and that was really amazing. He and Rick and I chatted, so if you missed that, check out yesterday's show. A lot of great analyses of the craters while looking at the craters. It's really what I've wanted. Kind of like dream come true. I'm also getting eaten by mosquitoes. It's feeding time, apparently. So I'll choose some tunes and get up and walk around for a second. Back to the moon in a couple.
about cool chicks. Their minds intrusive bliss. Something of the wild, separate well, sin wild, sleeping down, get the walls, it's a big attraction. Get the wall, it's a punk, get it, get it, good, get it, good, get it, good, get it. Take the islands, the kind of song, find its way into the hot dog's done. It's fine, finger wine, into the time till the products are gone. Well, so they
so much. That's it for me. Anyway, the clouds are starting to roll in. It's been a long one. Almost 4 hours. Appreciate everybody hanging out, all the great chat and the amazing vibes tonight, and all the kind words about the music. That means a lot. It really does. So, Truman Zoo, peace out. And David Schmidt, welcome and peace out. Howard Ewing, again, thank you. Orgello and Joe Solomon. I hope it's it. Salomon. saying that okay. 24/7 and Ellie Wynn and the Cats. And Happy Honey Big Bear. And I know Mary was here earlier. Zoo Scott. Be Smart. And so many others. I can't actually scroll further. So if I missed you, sorry I did. Thanks so much, everybody. Catch you on a whole bunch of other streams on the Electric View. And maybe tomorrow around the same time, 10.
You traveled across the seas for me, and then you left me crawling Amsterdam beaches, waiting on the hotel floor for you. Then your mama came and swept you up. Then you went and married your high school lover.
All right. That's it for me. Good night, everybody. Typically, I'll play it out, but I got to pull it in. I think there's some rain clouds, actually. So I'll catch you all tomorrow or the day after. Be well, stay wise, stay safe, and be kind. Actually, try and be kind, because we're all fallible. Let's get this going.
You're my friend and that's a code of arms. It's the end, so let's just play the odds.